You know what's wild? We live in a world where silence has become the loudest answer. Where no contact isn't just a strategy, it's like this badge of honor, a way to prove you're strong, that you're detached, that you don't care. But here's the truth: nobody tells you silence might grab his attention, but it won't make him forget you or respect you the way you think. Because silence is a move, but going beyond silence, that's transformation. And transformation is unforgettable. See, when you pull back and cut contact, yeah, it shocks him. It leaves him wondering. He checks his phone, he scrolls back through old messages, he notices the empty space where you used to show up. That works in the short term. But let me ask you this: is your goal just to be a ghost in his head, or to become a storm he can never erase? Because there's a huge difference between haunting someone with your absence and impressing someone with your growth. Let me break it down like this. If you stop calling, stop texting, stop showing up, he's going to feel the gap. But time passes. People adjust. Absence becomes normal. And before you know it, that same silence you thought was power becomes just another memory. You don't want to be remembered as a silence. You want to be remembered as a change, as evolution, as somebody who went beyond waiting for the phone to buzz. This is why going beyond no contact matters. Because while he's waiting for you to cave, to slip, to reach out, you're busy building, you're busy rising, you're busy upgrading yourself so loudly that even though you're quiet, the world still hears you. That's the part he won't forget, not the silence, not the mystery, but the fact that you use that time to become someone he doesn't even recognize anymore. Someone stronger, sharper, brighter. Let me ask you this: what's the point of ignoring someone if the whole time you're secretly glued to your phone, obsessing, replaying old conversations, stalking his socials? That's not no contact. That's fake contact. That's just absence on the outside, but desperation on the inside. And he can feel that energy even if you never say a word. You don't win by pretending. You win by shifting. Going beyond no contact means you don't just shut him out. You open yourself up to new goals, new friendships, new habits. You fill the silence with substance. You let your life make the noise, so that by the time he checks in, by the time he peeks back to see what you're doing, he doesn't just find nothing. He finds everything. He finds you transformed. And that's when the regret hits. Not because you disappeared, but because you evolved without him. Now let's be real for a second. I know why you're even thinking about no contact. Because deep down you want him to notice. You want him to miss you. You want to trigger something in him that says, man, I lost something valuable. That's human. But here's the secret: missing you isn't enough. Regret isn't enough. If all he does is remember you, what does that really give you? A memory doesn't build a future. A memory doesn't keep you warm at night. A memory doesn't respect you. But transformation, that demands respect. So instead of sitting there thinking, I wonder if he's checked my profile today, flip it. Ask yourself, what have I done today that makes me impossible to forget? Did you put your energy into yourself? Did you step into your purpose? Did you take one small step toward the kind of life that would make anybody, him or anyone else, wish they hadn't let you go? Because if not, then silence isn't your problem. Your focus is. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you disappear. No texts, no calls, nothing. A week goes by. 2 weeks, 3. He starts to wonder. Maybe he even reaches out. But then, instead of you picking up the phone with the same old energy, he stumbles across you and you're different. You've been hitting the gym. You've been building that business idea you always talked about. You've been traveling, reading, laughing with friends, living. You didn't just go silent, you went alive. That contrast, that's unforgettable. That's the gut punch. Because while he was waiting for you to crack, you leveled up. That's what I mean by going beyond no contact. It's not about punishing him with your absence. It's about rewarding yourself with your presence, with your energy, with your power. And let me tell you something. When you start moving like that, people can't ignore you. They can unfollow you, block you, delete your number, but energy like that, it spreads. It's undeniable. It stays in their mind like a song they can't turn off. You don't have to post every win either. This isn't about putting on a show. It's about genuinely building a life you're proud of. Because when you're proud of it, it radiates. People sense it. They see it in the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you walk into a room. And trust me, when he sees it, it'll cut deeper than silence ever could. Because silence fades. Self-respect lasts. So here's what I want you to remember. No contact is just step one. It's the pause button. But what you do in that pause, that's the game changer. If you just sit in the silence, you'll stay stuck. But if you move in the silence, you'll rise. And when you rise, you'll shine so bright that he won't just remember you. He'll regret losing you. But here's the kicker. By the time that regret comes, you won't even need it anymore because you'll be too far ahead, too focused, too fulfilled. And that's when the real power kicks in. The moment you realize that the point was never to make him remember you. The point was to make yourself unforgettable to yourself. That's what going beyond no contact looks like. That's what makes you stick in someone's mind forever. Not silence, not games, not waiting, but becoming. So don't just disappear, transform. Don't just go quiet, go higher. Don't just let him wonder, let him witness. Because silence may get his attention, but growth will never let him forget you. You ever notice how everyone talks about winning the breakup? Like it's a competition, like if you just cut him off long enough, you'll win. But let me ask you this, what are you really trying to win? His attention? His curiosity? His jealousy? Because here's the truth. If your only goal is to make him notice your silence, you're still playing on his field. You're still letting him be the scoreboard. And that's not victory. That's dependence dressed up as strategy. Real victory isn't about him at all. Real victory is when the game stops being about proving a point to him and starts being about proving something to yourself. That's when no contact turns into growth. That's when distance turns into discipline. And that's when you go from just being forgotten or remembered to being unforgettable. Let's be honest. A lot of people use no contact as a kind of bait. If I don't text, he'll miss me. If I don't call, he'll realize my value. If I don't show up, he'll come running back. But that mindset, it's still chained to his actions. It's still centered on what he does, not what you do. And if your power depends on his reaction, you don't have power. You're just hoping he gives it back to you. That's why going beyond no contact is so important. Because no contact is just a pause. Growth is the play. Silence is the stage. And what you do on that stage determines whether you fade out or shine. Here's the shift. Instead of saying, I hope he sees I'm not calling, flip it to, I hope I see myself leveling up every day I don't call. Instead of thinking, I bet he's checking my profile. Say, I'm building a life so good, even I don't recognize myself when I scroll back through my own pictures. Because the truth is, if you're only focused on whether he notices, you'll never notice your own progress. Think about it. Imagine you stop contacting him, but your life stays the same. Same routines, same worries, same circle, same late nights staring at your phone, waiting. Sure, he might notice for a while, but sooner or later, silence without change just looks like emptiness. And emptiness isn't unforgettable. It's forgettable. It blends in. It fades. But if you stop contacting him and at the same time, you start changing your life, that's a story. That's a shift. That's what makes people sit up and say, whoa, I didn't expect that. And let me tell you something, people don't forget shock. They don't forget surprise. They don't forget when you go from who they thought you'd always be to someone they never saw coming. That's why the goal isn't to vanish. The goal is to reappear so evolved that he doesn't just remember you. He rethinks everything. Now, let's go deeper. Why does this even matter? Because the person you were in that relationship, the one who gave, the one who compromised, the one who maybe tolerated too much, that version of you wasn't fully seen. And if you're not careful when you walk away, you'll carry that same version of yourself forward. You'll still be giving too much, still tolerating too much, still shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. That's why silence alone doesn't cut it. It doesn't rebuild you. It just hides you. Going beyond no contact means taking that break and using it to rebuild, to strengthen your boundaries, to rediscover your voice, to remember that your worth never came from whether he texted back, but from how you show up for yourself every single day. And when you walk in that truth, trust me, he won't just notice, he'll feel it. People can sense when you've stepped into your own power. They can sense when you no longer need their approval to feel valuable. That's unforgettable energy. But let me give it to you straight. The point of this isn't even about making him regret, because regret is still about him. Regret means you're still hoping he feels something so you can feel better. No. The real goal, it's freedom. It's peace. It's standing so firm in who you are that even if he does regret, you're not waiting around for it. Because here's the beautiful part: when you go beyond no contact, when you actually grow, by the time he circles back, you won't even need him to validate you anymore. You'll be too far ahead. Imagine this: months go by. He decides to check in. Maybe he sends a text. Maybe he asks mutual friends. Maybe he scrolls through your socials. And what does he find? Not silence, not waiting, but a new version of you, a version who's working on her career, who's surrounded by new energy, who's smiling, thriving, glowing. That hits different, because it's one thing to wonder about someone. It's another to realize they're doing better without you. That's unforgettable. But here's the twist: you won't be living that life for him to see. You'll be living it because you deserve it, because you were always capable of it, because deep down you knew that relationship wasn't the ceiling of your potential. It was just the floor. And the moment you stopped pouring into him, you had the chance to pour into yourself. That's when your life shifts from, "I hope he sees this," to, "I can't believe I waited this long to see this myself." Let me tell you something about energy. Energy can't be faked. You can post all the highlight reels you want, but if inside you're still waiting for his call, that energy seeps through. But when you genuinely go beyond no contact, when you actually heal, grow, and shift, people can't help but notice. They feel it in your confidence. They see it in your choices. They hear it in your voice. That's why this isn't about pretending to move on. It's about actually moving forward. So stop asking yourself, will he forget me? The real question is, will I forget myself if I keep waiting for him? Because the danger isn't in him forgetting. The danger is in you losing sight of your own value while trying to stay unforgettable to someone else. And let me tell you, when you finally put yourself first, when you finally make choices for your growth, for your peace, for your future, you don't have to worry about being forgotten. People never forget the ones who choose themselves. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not silence, not games, not strategies, but strength, self-respect, growth, a life that reflects your worth. And when you build that, even if he moves on, even if he never says a word, you'll know he won't forget you. Not because of absence, but because of presence. Because of the way you showed up for yourself when he wasn't there to show up for you. And here's the best part: you won't even need him to remember you, because you'll be too busy remembering who you are. Too busy creating a life so full that whether he thinks of you or not won't matter. And that's when you've truly gone beyond no contact. That's when silence turns into power. That's when absence turns into evolution. So don't just cut him off. Cut off the part of yourself that still waits, that still wonders, that still ties your worth to his recognition. And then build. Build a life so meaningful, so powerful, so magnetic, that even if he wanted to, he couldn't forget you. Not because you're chasing his memory, but because you're living in your truth. That's the move. That's the shift. That's going beyond no contact. And that's how you make sure he won't forget you. Ever.